Around 40 million adults in the US alone suffer from anxiety, making it one of the most common mental illnesses. As someone who deals with it personally, it's been not only a mental but a physically painful experience. So what could a 17th century philosopher possibly tell us that might help us with these experiences? In this video, we're going to see the philosopher Blaise Pascal's observation about how we deal with anxiety. Then we'll give it a bit of a modern twist to hopefully make it helpful for you today. Now this is really important for me to mention. Pascal was a Christian philosopher, and his overall advice is going to be in that realm. But don't worry if you yourself are not Christian, because there will be a stop along this journey for you to get off at if you still want practical anxiety advice but do not want a Christian solution. That being said, let's get into the video. The first question is, are you happy? Really? If you have anxiety, you might be tempted to say no, because after all, your mind is fixated on worst-case scenarios and impending doom, and all the possible ways your life could go wrong. He is dependent, and always liable to be disturbed by 1,001 accidents, which inevitably cause distress. Imagination is often thought of as a good thing, especially when it comes to art. But imagination could also be pretty damaging. It could create these ghosts, these phantoms, that don't actually exist and yet are able to cause us harm. When given the opportunity, we could really run wild and become paranoid of every little thing in the world possibly harming us. But that's the thing, isn't it? We need an opportunity to think up these things and let our anxiety run wild. And that opportunity is found in a scenario absent of any distractions. The sole cause of man's unhappiness is that he does not know how to stay quietly in his room. For Pascal, it's really diversions or distractions which save us from anxiety. These attention grabbers allow our mind to focus on some external immediate thing, and not focus on the imaginative world of possibility. Now you might argue that it's not imagination, but really our actual living conditions which inspire anxiety. It's the fear of actual things which lead to our anxiety, and this is valid. Both our actual life circumstances and our imagination can cause anxiety. But imagine if our living conditions were perfect. Would the anxiety then go away? Pascal asks us to imagine a king with all he could ever ask for, truly living it up with the best living conditions. Would the king be devoid of anxiety? Maybe if he distracts himself with something, but alone with his thoughts, he would inevitably still succumb to anxiety. Yet if you imagine one with all the advantages of his rank, but no means of diversion, left to ponder and reflect on what he is, this limp felicity will not keep him going. He is bound to start thinking of all the threats facing him, of possible revolts, finally of inescapable death and disease, with the result that if he is deprived of so-called diversion, he is unhappy. Now, I want to give this a bit of a modern twist because there's something plaguing us in today's world that may not have been so prevalent in Pascal's, and that is a shorter attention span. Many of us seem to want to have our attention divided between two or more things. We have our phones out when we're watching a movie or eating food or even having a conversation with someone. Our watches no longer just tell the time. They hit us with texts and news and weather and music. The real big meme is how on TikTok, many videos are really two videos in one, with the top screen being people talking and the bottom screen being some mobile game being played to keep our attention. I'm not immune to this either. I like to watch something while I eat, and I often listen to music in the shower. Now look, I'm no psychologist, but I would imagine this hyper attention grabbing lifestyle makes it harder for us to really concentrate on just one thing. And perhaps, just maybe, that weakens the power of diversion. Maybe watching a show is now no longer enough to run to diversion. Maybe you need your phone out as well. So perhaps we could take Pascal's observation here and train ourselves to become more easily diverted. I know that sounds strange, but the cost of escapism seems to be growing with our shorter attention spans. And if we rely on escapism and diversion to take a break from our anxiety, we need to train our minds to be more focused. So my modern, twisted advice of Pascal to you is to essentially practice mindfulness. Be mindful of limited things and really focus in on them. When eating a meal, try really tasting each bite and focusing on that, rather than also watching something to pass the time. When talking with someone, be mindful of what they're saying and how they're looking, rather than reaching for your phone or thinking about what you're going to say next. Really immerse yourself in the limited present moment, and maybe this will have a positive impact on your anxiety. So that is the general advice, and if you're not a Christian, you may want to get off at this stop. Thank you for watching regardless, and I hope you feel better. Now for my fellow Christians, I don't think Pascal just wants us to be content in our diversions, but rather to find peace in God. You see, there's two important elements of Christianity that Pascal constantly brings up. One, that we are wretched creatures, and two, that that's okay because we are redeemed and saved through Jesus Christ. Now that first part, that we're wretched, may be used to explain mistakes we make or sins we commit or even harm that others want to bring towards us. All of this could ignite one's anxiety, and if you only focus on the wretchedness of humanity, you will fall into despair according to Pascal. But that's why it's so important to also keep in mind our redemption through Jesus Christ. Look, we're humans, okay? We make mistakes, we often suck, and the world we create here on earth for others is often oppressive. But nonetheless, Jesus loves us, flaws and all, and he died on the cross to redeem us for the sins and mistakes we commit in our lives. I don't know about you, but just by merely reflecting on this, I feel much more safe and relaxed. When I engage in prayer or go to church or even just learn more about Christianity online, my anxiety decreases. Sure, this disease is still with me and some days it really gets bad. But just reflecting on the fact that I'm loved despite my mistakes, despite my flaws, that brings a certain emotional safety that can't be fully explained here. Hopefully this is not just anecdotal and some of you guys can relate, but if not, I'd suggest doing activities that grow you closer to God. Well, that's the video. I really hope you got some value out of it and find it useful in your personal battle against anxiety. Feel free to share your thoughts below and any general anxiety advice as well. To keep up with more philosophy content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to know when new videos drop. And with that, I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day.